that we need is having the masculine and feminine work and coincide with each other. So that's not dominantly patriarchal or, you know, dominantly the other, version of it. It's just a gathering of those energies together so that there is an equanimity, and both are being heard and respected and created to be able to make what you recall as like an egalitarian society, like something that is more equal. So finding that equanimity between the divine masculine and divine feminine are going to be necessary in societies to be able to create support for each other in family settings, in you know group settings and villages and cities and so on and so forth. So just finding that beautiful balance so that um, we really feel heard and supported, and our thoughts um, can create beautiful realities, and and be allowed to really bring out the best in humanitarian consciousness. So allowing that to rise and just be a beautiful aspect of that, I think is so lovely.
It's a whole different world. It will be a whole different world, really. It's the same. It will be the same world, but we'll feel a lot different in it. I wanted to say about the sirens. What surprised me was that they were the original sirens from the Greek writings. They were winged beings. They were birds with a woman's head, and they weren't mermaids. But later on, they got changed to mermaids. But I like the winged idea. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Better than the mermaid idea, but if we thought like as peers instead of in the hierarchical way, because we think in hierarchy all the time. For example, if a policeman came up to you right now, you would defer to him, and this whole idea of that is very alien to me. And now that I've come to the different consciousness, and when this is a funny thing, and it's part of our subject matter. I had an interesting sort of situation this morning. I was at the senior centre. I was having lunch there, and somebody that sat on our table, he said he was going to see a Beatles cover band, and he said he was talking about the Beatles and how wonderful they were. And then he asked me what I think of the Beatles, and I said, well, I used to like them, but I now that I know more about things, I kind of gone off it all. And he says, eventually he said, what about, don't you listen to music? And I thought, since I've known about the Matrix, I don't listen to music because I know what it did, how it came about, what it was supposed to do to us, and how that I was influenced very much. And I feel a little bit cheated, but I'm not going to, dwell on it. But so we had this question, should we mention the Matrix when we speak to friends and family, or should we not speak of it if they are discomforted by talk of it? What are your thoughts on that?
We don't need to worry about nothing, 'cause we got the fire and we're burning one hell out of something. They gonna see us from outer space, light it up like we're the stars of the human race. When the lights started out, they don't
think that I think of the saying, um, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And a lot of the times, for some reason or another, it's almost like talking to people that don't understand on a level is like tuning into a different frequency in a radio station. They may just hear static, or it may hear like a foreign frequency to them. They may not understand what we're speaking about. Um, and also trying to explain things in a simplified way so that people can understand it to where they are in their consciousness, I found very helpful. But it just, I guess I find it depends on where they are and what they're ready to accept. Um, and I guess
But
that
then that
depends on
that
each
really
person.
that means that you have to repress yourself because of
Yeah.
their lack of an open
Yep.
mind.
Yeah.
You know.
Free speech is, is necessary. And you can continue to talk about what is true. It's true. Is truth is always going to be very important, to speak your truth and to voice that. Um, but there may be some people that are more appropriate to do that for than others, and maybe some people that don't accept the message, and some people that do. It depends on where they're at. So it's just trying to be gracious on both ends.
Yeah, I find it hard to sympathize because it's sort of like saying, well, if you remain ignorant, you're the one that you beat intelligence because we know, but we can't. That's what I think. But I'm not saying it's easy to do. Like it's very hard to do because you think, should I bring it up? Like, but I do need to say something and not the same old usual thing because otherwise we're never going to get out of this consciousness, are we? Like, we're going to be pandering to that. That's what we're doing. You say that and I'm not trying to challenge you or anything like that, but I know a lot of people do say that they should come to it when they're ready. But there's children dying, there's people dying, there's people suffering, and do they have the luxury of just coming? Do we give them that luxury and all the burden is on us to carry this burden of what's going on, and we have to pretend that and I'm very emotional about it, and but you can't show that because you'll be thought of as a nutcase. So you have to always talk as though it's a business, but really there's a lot of horrible things going on that needn't go on, and there's more coming. And we've got the 5G and the 6G and what they're planning on with that, and all the other plans that they've got.
Yeah.
So do we just go along just because they think that we are going to go along like they plan, although they prepare for alternatives?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know for every problem there is a solution, and there's also a free will choice. So there is, in my understanding of consciousness, a bifurcation of timelines, that there are going to be people that don't want to choose and want to follow rather than lead and co create and be. And the choice is respected, but there are also consequences to the choices. So choose wisely, and
Mm.
in that, context, it's important for me to like find my tribe, find people that are like minded, that are willing to step into their leadership roles, willing to co create and do, beautifully for the guardianship of the earth and for each other and for the sake of love and unity consciousness. And that those who are going to not see and be under the controls of those hidden agendas, so to speak. So um, it is there's I just think of like what the scriptures have to say. There is a time to speak and there's a time to be quiet, and there's a time to, you know, for everything, a time and place for everything. So sometimes the appropriated response um, may be allowing them to go into silence, and sometimes the appropriated response is allowing, to speak the truth. It's finding that balance that's within ourselves so that we're always acting in graciousness. In our speech, we combine um, all of the elements. Our throat chakra is known as like the elemental structure in our body that combines the chakras from our crown down and from our sacral chakra up. And so it's important for those aspects to merge out and to become one in truthfulness, always in truthfulness, always, as much with graciousness and respect as possible. Um, but always in that principle of love and how we want to be treated. And sometimes approach can be everything. So, with tactfulness and response, it does help um, to ease a message. It's not
Yeah, but
necessarily,
they want to put vaccines in us, and it's not exactly very
yeah.
respectful. I just
No, it's
have a hard
not. I
time with
mean,
that, and
but what they
I
do,
think
they
that
judge
there is a time
themselves.
and a place
Yeah,
to tell people, but the
yeah,
thing is, and they don't. They're not aware of it. They're not aware of it. But are we doing them a disservice by keeping them?
yeah. I think that the actions that they do on nefarious ways to put controls, they judge themselves. They create their own reality. They create their own system of limitation. So, on that respect, yes, they have the free will to do that, but there's also very serious consequences to those actions. And, I don't envy those actions because it is finite. And
Yes.
those actions do come to an end and they do have a retribution to pay for those things. Um, Intention is everything. So, what we are creating and integrity is everything. So, if we are using that intention with integrity and we're using that within the golden rule of loving one's neighbor as oneself, it becomes very simplified. And we are walking in a way every day that is showing that love, and that action can speak louder than words, just as those who have other means, their actions speak louder than words too. So it's holding that space for what we know is right within our heart.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Have you got any thoughts on that in particular, Tina? Because we're getting off on a good start here.
Yeah, this seems to be a very big, messy can of worms. um, basically, I believe that someone has to hold space for that particular block. And the way I see it is the people that are being initiated or prepared for roles that they've been working on for a very, very, very long time, many lifetimes, are ready. They've made their decisions and they're simply trying to understand how the chaos is going to sort of filter down into, okay, what can I take action on? And I think that kind of leads us up to what you're actually doing, which is, okay, what can we take action on? But I think that the important part is that everyone has a choice to do whatever they want to do. It's not my responsibility to make someone else change their mind. That's not what we're here for. We're here to get ourselves back in balance so that we can hold space in a higher frequency. And that's how it works.
It's
That's how I
very
see it.
interesting what you say about we can't get people to change their minds. I don't follow that logic. I know that it's a saying that we hear a lot, and I worry that it's a something that's injected into the sort of the language or the usage of the language that stops us from taking it further. It stops us from doing something. It stops us, and this program, it keeps stopping us. I feel it's always repressing us. But think about it. We are we not here really to convince each other? Because if we weren't here to convince each other, what is the point of communicating? I think that we've got an obligation to. I don't know about convince anybody. That is definitely up to them, but an obligation to be utterly truthful and authentic. And I feel that women have been so trained to be something else, so trained to be nice and, kind and all. And I'm not saying to be cruel, okay? I'm not saying to not be nice. But I'm the type of woman that doesn't let things go. And I've noticed that men and women, a lot of the time, and women need some, we all need improvement. We do. We need improvement because we've come from a very, very blunt, ignorant mindset, which is the patriarchy. Did somebody say something?
No, we're listening.
Because this internet today is not great. We had a few storms. That's probably why. So I think we are obligated to bring truth to people who don't know. We have to do it in a gentle way, because a lot of people, it's because of all the trauma and the lies that humanity has been grotesquely abused, grotesquely and relentlessly and mercilessly abused psychologically by I consider it to be the bloodlines, who these people are, that end up having everything going the way that they dictate, although they have a lot of balls in the air juggling them, but they've got all the resources and people give it to them. So I think that we have to figure out a way to tell the people who are blind, totally, totally blind. They don't even know about chemtrails. Like they need to know that they are being sprayed like bugs.
Well, the one thing that I have realized over the last 4 years is they might not have to know everything.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because they're not contracted to. It's as simple as that. They're here to do very specific things. Everyone has free will to make their own decisions. But as far as a collective energy, I'm sure you've heard of the front 10%. The leaders, the people that are awake, that are aware of everything that's going on. When we can complete our own imbalances and come into alignment with ourselves, one of us is thousands of people that aren't awake. So for every one front runner, thousands have to hold balance. So just keep that in mind, because it is a balancing of energy, basically. But those 13 families, it's a changing of the guard. That their time is over. So it has to move into the next 13 signatures for the next 13 families. And that's just the way it works. We are ending chaos. They did a heck of a job with chaos. And it's all chaos
That's
of the
for sure.
mind.
Yeah.
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 The thing is, though, you see it as some outside force leading it, and I think that, like, it's a timeline thing, and I agree with that to an extent. But I believe that everyone is on their journey, and you're right. I'm not telling people to what they need to do. I could tell them what they need to do, but they still make their choice, and it's totally their choice. But by telling them about chemtrails, that's not taking choice away. That's actually giving them choice to know. They need to know that they are being sprayed. And if we don't tell them, that is bad on us, our journey. That makes our journey stay down. It keeps us down. We can't get up. We won't be able to get to this new evolution because we have to, in my view. I have to, and I believe that it is incumbent on the ones with knowledge to always get that knowledge out. It's not enough to sit on it, and it's not enough to speak to the choir. So, you know, it's got to come. We're going along with things way too much. The ones who know, we know that it's all done by criminals. Why aren't we creating or talking about what we can use that's different and find people who do want to get into something different, you know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that more and more people are becoming aware of situations like this. I'm talking about like genetically modified foods and certain agendas, whether it be chemtrails or, pollutants of every sort. There more and more growing number of people that have had um, allergies to different foods, and it's simply because of the way that they harvest food here. It's interesting that people that have wheat allergies may not have wheat allergies when they go to Eastern Europe because they're not spraying Roundup on the wheat.
Right.
It's the way that it's harvested. It's understanding there's different paradigms of control in food. That's one aspect of an entire segue of how they are controlling people to not really be or function in the best form of what they are. But like I had said before, those people that have created that chaos, that have done that kind of work to control food or the air or pollutants for the masses, they have a very serious karma to pay for, to answer to for their actions and their intentions. And they create their own imprisonment for what they're doing because in a collective, you can't be treating people so poorly and not expect to be affected. It just doesn't work that way
Yeah.
in very large paradigms and understanding principle in society. So, but I do know that the way that I can affect change is by my own integrity and whom I speak to and what I speak about to, teach and to live and to be. And I think by being the best person that I can be inside myself, that balanced sense of myself, then that sets an example for balance if others are inspired to do the same, with their free will, to be able to live that way. More people are affected, I think, by an act of love and kindness and are touched in their hearts to do great things um, in so many ways than they
But
could be.
we're still using their system. That's the problem. We're still feeding the system. So it's really this is where
Yeah,
we have to think about our
Right. Well,
participation.
the other system that would be the solution to these problems
Yeah.
are, brought in through solar waves, plasma gamma waves are activating, the dormant DNA in our body, are affecting, certain things that are upgrading organic life and that are creating a better sentience and consciousness so that it can work from within and then
Well, you see it as coming
expand
from
outside.
outside, and
Well, it's inside and outside. It's not just outside in. It's it's
but what's the
acting.
source?
It
What's the
this
source?
the
That's the
source is
important
the
thing.
spark that we all are, and the manifestation
Yes,
of
we are the
activating
source.
the DNA strands that are in our telomeres. That's the inside work, and it also comes from our outside because we live in a mirrored universe. So we see that within the sun and those plasma gamma waves that are emitting light. We see that, on many levels that are connected because that's part of the unity consciousness of the reality of systems. It would otherwise be disconnected if it was, just from one source or one way of being. It's both ways.
It is, but the source comes from us. For example, I believe anyway, um, like the Schumann resonance, that starts from us. That we're the ones that make that go up and down, spike or what have you, and and then it also comes back at us. It is a feedback loop. But I believe as it's a belief system. It's a very basic belief system, and I see the world believing in the opposite. I believe that we are the source of everything and pretty much everything that I can think of. But there's probably some things that we're not. But and that's where we're getting everything wrong. Like they've made us believe that as above, so below. No, it's as below, so above. So what we see in the world on the world stage, this is how I see it, is because of what we are here on the ground. And we're all right together. We get on great. But there's people, throughout my life, I've always seen people really stab each other bad and constantly and for nothing. And we've got to, because it's a very hierarchical and adversarial culture that we live in. Everything is adversarially based. It's just a stupid way to have a culture. So, but we're in it, and we've been conditioned for generations now that we don't even see what it's doing to us, and how it does it. But if we talk about it, then that's what makes us see it, and then we can do something with it. But yeah, it's a
So from
terrible culture.
right, so
Everything about it, in my view.
from projecting from the inside out, what kind of consciousness reality would you like to co-create in the world?
Exactly. That's a good one, Nicole, because that's the opportunity that we have. We are the creators, and we don't realize our aptitude to create, and we don't know how to create. We have to figure out what the formula is, because manifestation happens sometimes, and then sometimes it doesn't happen. So, what is the formula to make it happen consistently? And these are the kind of things that we could go into much more so than talking about Trump shooting, which is that's a whole stage act. I, that's how I see it. The whole thing is totally performed. It's totally a performance. It's just like a circus act that you go and see, or daytime soap opera. So when people talk about politics, it's almost offensive to me. And it's just so silly. But if people really believe that, and like you say, they can believe that if they want to, that's fine. But we could be talking about much more uplifting things, like how do we find the formula for manifestation?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
So in that regards, like what have you manifested around your reality that has allowed you certain freedoms to be able to not need as much money to live on? That's amazing.
Well, it took a lot of creativity, and I had to live a little bit, you know, always thinking, and using things that people threw away. You know, so you're always just going by the luck of the draw, you know, and but I managed to find a little niche, you know, I managed to find a little niche where they just wanted me to do the gardening and they provided everything. So, you know, but it was still, you know, very, it was good for a while, but it had its problems because you really have no power. No, people don't have any, they just think that you don't have any power, so they treat you like that, which is, anyway, just it's probably something I learned a lot about, you know, that how money is, what it does to us psychologically. That's the part that is really been beneficial, what it does to us psychologically. When you're counting numbers, and now I can see that I've got money now, and I'm seeing myself being a numbers person again, you know, worrying about numbers and having enough numbers, and it's really funny. But I still care about it because I want to keep it, you know what I mean? And I want to do things and stuff like that. So it's such a ploy on our psychology. It's incredible. And I know how they do it. But I'd like to hear more from Tina. I feel as though I've been doing a lot of talking. Have you got any thoughts? What are your thoughts? And I understand you come from a similar way that Nicole comes from, and have you know, the idea of the timeline, maybe even astrology and all that. So that's just another angle, and it could very well be possible. I'm not absolutely not discounting it. But I look at what it's done for us, and I don't think that's the way to go. I think that it sometimes can be a way to absolve ourselves from responsibility and wait for this thing that's going to happen. I think that we need to take it into our hands, especially as mothers, to protect the earth now and all the people and the animals on it. And it's not going to happen by us. It's not going to come to us without struggle, I think, or without effort. And I'm sorry to say that, but as we evolve, it must take effort, because it's just like a rub that you know, it's just like the fly, how it goes into goo, turns into a butterfly, turns into goo. So I think that we're going through this gooey part, and we're going to turn into butterflies, you know, but still, we've got to get there.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where to start on this one.
Am I getting cut off here?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. You know what? I'm not sure if she froze up or not. So I'm just going to start by saying each one of us has a drive to act and do something within our own lives and scapes. And I think that's important to understand what you're called to be, to act on those motives in your own community. And I do believe that it's going to be community based, not necessarily like, okay, let's go set out to save the whole globe. I think it's going to start small, and then community, and then get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we did lose her.
Yes,
Denise?
we may have.
Am I back?
Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
Sorry, we've had storms here, and the internet is playing up a bit, unfortunately.
It's all right.
Okay, well, glad to have you back.
But I love what you said.
You heard what I said? Okay,
it's
good.
Wonderful. Good. I agree with you. It's going to start small and we're just going to spread, you know, our wings across different small communities. And
And, you know,
I
I
think
believe that's for a
nature
bigger
works.
reason. The bigger reason being that each area already has its own culture, already has its own landscape that it lives by. You know, like the vegetation in one area is completely different than the vegetation in another area. And that harmony, that ecosystem in that area has to remain in balance. So there's a bigger reason why everything has to return to square and then branch out.
Mm.
But as far as like the planetary logos, she is waking up. She is a very alive, big, beautiful being. And,
Mm.
you know, going forward, what she says goes. So we have to learn how to live in the host that she's providing. We are guests here. That is it. And when we start this new cycle, when we go forward, you know, we're going to have to know how to do that. So the people that can actually speak to her and know what she's saying are going to be the ones that speak for her on her behalf. Now, I think everybody said this. This movement forward is not for everyone. You know, they're here holding space for a certain frequency, and that is it. That's it. And that's why we can't get too overwhelmed by what everyone else is doing, because all those people, not that it's not that you know, like, don't worry about what that guy's saying or whatever. It's if you can zoom out and see the bigger picture, you understand the body of what we're talking about and how each cell is important and how each energy center, just like we have energy centers, the planetary logos has the same exact thing. We are cells inside a body. And if we're doing our job the way we're supposed to, we're going to get to hang around and see what the good stuff looks like. But if we're not, we're going to be asked to leave. It's as simple as that. So when this chaos like literally shuts everything down, it has to have an endpoint. It has to finalize at some point. And that has to be seen by the whole body. It has to be seen as a shutdown. And unfortunately, we can't try to force it to happen, because the changing of the guard has not happened yet. They're being prepared for the changeover, but it hasn't officially happened yet. So unfortunately, we have to wait. But until we do that, we can decide, well, you know, I don't want that for the future, and I want to go back to like growing your own vegetables, and you know, these herbs do this for the body, and you know, we're learning and we're practicing and we're getting ready. And that's what we're doing right now. 2024 is an initiation year. 25, 26, and 27 are the change years.
Yeah, I feel as though that we are responsible for continuing companies like Amazon, continuing government, which is doing horrible things, and we're funding it. So, you know, I'm not, but a lot of people are, and I feel that that's immoral, really. And I know that we all do to an extent, but how do we have something else that we can do so that we're funding it less and less, or so that we're creating a new pathway that we don't have to be on their systems? Because we are culpable too if we are funding it, I believe. I don't think that we can absolve ourselves so easily. These people who are put there to do these horrible things, and big horrible things, they're there to do something in us as well. They're here. They could be actually doing us a favor to get humanity out of its barbarism. You know, it has to be really in your face so that we don't forget it in the future. No generations will forget it because of what it's done, the memory that it just has left, you know, of all the killing and all the to animals as well as people, to our lands, to our waters, to our skies, to everything that we have ever come across, you know, we've polluted and debauched. And, you know, I do feel, it's funny that you say that, but I do feel as though I am a spokesperson for Mother Nature, like I'm speaking through a conduit or something. And Mother Nature is a bit elusive, but I think that women overall are connected to nature, because we are mothers as well. We are mothers too. You know, I know not every woman is a mother, but she has all those instincts, you know, and abilities to see into the future, to look long term, to caring, you know, something that we don't hold as a principle, you know, that we live by. The only principle we live by is collecting more numbers. You know, really, that's the only thing that everybody goes by when you think about it. You know?
Well, I think it's very encouraging just to see the microscopic growth of having 3 women here together to speak about raising consciousness, about seeing it start and seeing that, you know, start to grow and blossom, and enjoying, you know, one's company and how we can transcend these things that have been imposed upon us. It's beautiful to hear your thoughts, Denise, that urgency that are with the Sirens Say, and also, you know, that sense of inner knowing that comes with that a collapse of a timeline has to happen, because it is chaos, and chaos is not forever sustainable. It's transient. So that being the case, what is it that we do want to create? Like, you know, Tina was talking about growing your own food, or being able to meet with like-minded people, and seeing that growth of consciousness and how that can be transcended in ways that are creating that microcosm of growth, that's creating that change, that's moving along in some ways that people can hear and see and taste and do differently. That there is something better out there. For every problem, there is a solution. And it's really focusing on that solution so that we can be that light, and we can shine that, and place ourselves in those positions that are necessary to be the change that we want to see in the world.
That's fantastic, a way to end it. I think that everybody has the ability, the things to do are very doable. Like Tina said, grow your own food. If you do that much and share it with others, grow something that you really love growing, make a lot of it, and then share it with somebody else who can do something really well and that gets a lot of it. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to see, as you said earlier, that more and more people are coming awake. And what are they going to do, you know, when they figure it out, how bad it is for us, that they want to have something better. But it's all doable, and little things, simple things done a lot of times really take us forward. So we've got to remember that. I want to say thank you to both of you for coming tonight and talking about this. There's more we got to talk about. We just do scratch the surface, you know.
That's great.
So we'll talk about again in a couple of weeks, I think we said. And I love talking to you girls, and thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you so much, Denise. We appreciate your graciousness.
Thank
you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye for now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.